Right now, it is March 8th, 2018. The world, of course, is marking the International Women's Rights Day and International Women's Day, that is. And tonight on our Twitter poll, we are asking you, who has been the most influential woman in your life? Who has been the most influential woman in your life? We'd like to hear your feedback on this. And our Twitter handle is at KTN News. You can as well tweet me at Yusuf Ibra. The hashtag to use, as always, is #BottomLineAfrica. And of course, we're going to have the discussion surrounding Women's Day in this program. But for now, let me begin with our top story tonight. And the U.S. Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, has met with the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mohammed, in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the first stop of his tour of the continent. On his first diplomatic visit to Africa, the U.S. Secretary of State again warned African countries of the dangers of accepting loans from China. He said that the U.S. was not trying to keep Chinese money out of Africa, but warned there was a danger of losing control of infrastructure or resources if a country failed to repay a loan. Tillerson was also asked if Africans deserved an apology for derogatory remarks President Trump made about African countries a while back. He said America was committed to its relationship with Africa and said President Trump had written to the chairman of the African Union. Tillerson will also be visiting Kenya, Djibouti, Chad and Nigeria as part of his tour on the continent.
The purpose of my trip to this continent is to listen. I think it is important that we listen to what the priorities of the countries here on the continent are and see where there is good alignment between their priorities and our areas of greatest interest as well. And I think we've already found there are many, and that should not surprise anyone. The African Union truly is a force for good, and we're grateful to the African Union's role in seeking solutions to help this continent move towards greater stability, recognizing health, security, also advances national security, economic development, political stability. I reiterate our desire for more African nations to apply concrete diplomatic and economic pressure on North Korea. The goal of the Global Maximum Pressure Campaign, which has been supported by multiple UN Security Council resolutions, is to motivate North Korea to achieve the complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Meanwhile, Russia has also sent its top diplomat on a tour of Africa. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says he will not be meeting the U.S. Secretary of State in Ethiopia, despite an offer by Rex Tillerson. Now, speaking at a press briefing in Harare today, Lavrov said Tillerson had contacted him, proposing a meeting in Addis Ababa, where both officials will be today, but neither party had agreed to meet. He said he was revealing the details to clarify the discussions between himself and Tillerson. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov made a stopover in Harare, Zimbabwe on Wednesday during a week-long Africa tour, which also includes visits to Angola, Namibia, Mozambique and Ethiopia. It is the first time Lavrov has visited Harare since President Emerson Mnangagwa took power, following long-time ruler Robert Mugabe's resignation in November. Now, away from that, in war crimes, judges sitting at The Hague, that is in the Netherlands, have rejected an appeal by former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba against a bribery conviction, calling instead for a new jail term to be imposed. The appeals judges ruled to reverse the sentences imposed on Bemba and two of his co-accused and remand the matter to the original trial chamber for a new determination of their sentences. Bemba, aged 55 now, had appealed his conviction, a one-year jail term and €300,000 fine imposed last year by the International Criminal Court for bribing 14 defense witnesses to lie for him in his main war crimes trial. It was the first such corruption case at the court in The Hague to be successfully prosecuted since it opened its doors back in the year 2002. The 5 appeals judges dismissed all Bemba's 12 grounds of appeal, finding instead in favor of the prosecution.
All the variables. The appeals chamber considers that the sentence pronounced against Mr. Bemba, Mr. Mangenda, and Mr. Kilolo are materially affected by each of these errors. In these circumstances, The appeals chamber considers it appropriate, for the reasons advanced more fully in the judgment, to reverse their sentences and remand the matter to the original trial chamber for a new determination of their sentences.
Over to the elections in Sierra Leone, and after a rather peaceful election, the tallying process in Sierra Leone kicked off on a dramatic note as police raided the offices of the main opposition candidate, saying they were tipped off of a possible hack. And local television station spoke to Julius Mada Bio of the opposition Sierra Leone People's Party SLPP, who told them that police sought to search his offices without a warrant, and when denied entry, they were reinforced by riot police. Polls closed on Wednesday around 5 p.m. and the counting process began after voters turned out in droves to elect a new leader. They hope will end years of economic crisis caused by twin shocks of a commodities slump and an Ebola epidemic. Counting began in earnest about an hour after polling stations closed and polling staff carried out checks on ballot boxes for presidential, parliamentary, mayoral and council elections.
PNP compte Kande Baba 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We've experienced the 10-year tenure of the present party, the ruling party, and we've seen the issues regarding justice. We've seen the issues regarding the health sector. We've also seen issues regarding the educational sector. We've also experienced huge improvements in infrastructure as well. So I would like to see, with whosoever emerges as the winner, play a role in making a huge impression in terms of education in particular, in terms of the health, and also in terms of the judicial sector. I want to see justice prevail for whosoever, whatsoever level of individual.
Now, 8 soldiers were killed and 61 injured, as well as 24 civilians in last week's twin attacks in Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou. Now, the authorities said yesterday, adding that 8 jihadist assailants also died. The previous official toll from Friday's twin assault on the country's military headquarters and the French embassy had been 7 soldiers and 9 attackers dead, and there was no mention of any civilian casualties. The authorities had previously said around 80 were injured, but not mentioned any civilian among these casualties. 8 people have been arrested, including 2 soldiers and a former soldier who had been thrown out of the armed forces.
Montrer à ces gens-là qu'on n'a pas peur. Voilà, vous voyez, on est nombreux ici. Ils ne nous empêchent pas de vivre. Et il n'y a que les lâches qui tuent.
To show these people that we are not afraid. You see, there are many of us here. They do not prevent us from living. Only cowards kill. I am here again because I lost a neighbor who is also a relative. So I'm even more touched.
C'est malheureux, mais c'est comme ça. Quand nos enfants partent à l'école, on a peur.
Dear comrades in arms, rest in peace and may the free land of Burkina Faso be a light to you. Our duty is not a light duty. It is a permanent duty that demands our commitment at all levels, which sometimes leads to sacrifices by comrades of all ranks, officers, non-commissioned officers, young people who had only 18 months of service have fallen, and this is also our commitment to defend our country as much as we can.
Now, an election in the Democratic Republic of Congo to replace President Joseph Kabila remains on course for late December, the country's Prime Minister Bruno Shibala said. Now, repeated stalling of the election has raised tensions across the vast Central African country, triggering street protests and encouraging armed rebellions. Kabila was due to step down when his mandate expired at the end of 2016, but has so far refused to do so. Shibala, former leading member of Congo's main opposition coalition, was appointed by Kabila just under a year ago to head a transitional unity government tasked with organizing the election. He is expected to be the opposition candidate in the election. Opponents of the current President Kabila, who has ruled Congo since his father's assassination back in the year 2001, suspect he intends to repeatedly delay elections.
Ma mission, c'est de conduire le peuple congolais.
My mission is to bring the Congolese people to the election this year. More precisely, on December 23rd, the Congolese people will be brought to the ballot boxes.
Nous avons pris toutes les
We have taken all the precautions with the Seni for it to go well. It is true that it's a vast country, but that's exactly why the voting machines will help improve the voting process, which will be better compared to the old system.
L'ancien système. Il y a certes
Yes, there are some people who think the machines could complicate things, but on the contrary, it will make the voting process easier. The voting process will happen in record time, and everything will go very well. I confirm it.
Le gouvernement est ouvert.
The government is open to all kinds of intervention, cooperation with international financial institutions, but we are making an internal effort to improve tax collection and government receipts. If we find ourselves in a difficult situation, we won't hesitate to speak to international financial institutions to help supplement what we lack in order to improve our functioning as a state.
Afin d'améliorer notre fonctionnement en tant qu'État. Il y a une révision du code.
There is a revision of the code to try and make it more attractive and more fair to the DRC. There will be a compromise between us and the others, the mining companies.
Il y a un compromis entre nous et les autres.
Entre vous et les sociétés minières.
Les sociétés minières.
Let me now take you to the most populous country in Africa, and that is Nigeria. Nigerian court on Wednesday sentenced the brother of a suspected militant leader to life imprisonment for treason for his alleged involvement in twin car bombing in the capital Abuja in 2010. The prosecution said they were very satisfied with the judgment, while the defense team said they will study the verdict and will seek to appeal against the judgment. The blast, which killed at least 10 people near an Independence Day parade, were claimed by the movement of the emancipation of the Niger Delta, formerly the main militant group in Nigeria's southern oil heartland, before it reached a peace agreement with the government. Charles Oka had pleaded not guilty at the beginning of the trial, which took more than 7 years. In 2013, a South African court sentenced his brother Henry to 24 years in prison for masterminding the car bombings.
Yeah, when they are not spiritual, know what what kind of rubbish?
Justice has been done, and I praise the courage of the judge for the 7-8 years to have gone through this and to deliver this judgment for about 5 or 6 hours, going through all the issues that have been raised. I think we are very, very satisfied with the judgment.
Well, the judgment of the court was against our clients, the accused persons, who have gone through a rigorous trial. The court, in its wisdom, found them guilty of the charges and convicted them to life imprisonment. But like I said, we want to study the judgment, because naturally we will see some portions of the judgment that we will naturally disagree with, and then probably table it before the people upstairs to look at it. They may look at it from a very different direction and view, and probably agree with us.
Once again, today the world marks the International Women's Day, and with me in studio to discuss more, issues that affect women across the continent, not just in Kenya. Once again, I have Florence Mashio from Equality Now. Also have Nerima Kinyiwere. She is the program manager, Kellen. Also have Fatuma Abdul Qadir, who's the Horn of Africa Development Initiative Executive Director. And last but not the least, we have Diana Gishengo, who is a program manager, Kenya Human Rights Commission. Happy Women's Day to all of you, and good evening. Well, I'm going to have that discussion shortly, but let me quickly look at some fun facts about women. And women speak about 20,000 words a day. That's 13,000 more than the average man. Now, women spend nearly 1 year of their lives deciding what to wear. Interesting. Women cry on average between 30 and 64 times a year, while men cry between 6 and 17 times. Women have more taste buds than men. And over 80% of women wear the wrong bra size. This is interesting. I'm sure Flo is wondering, I'm not the author of this. Let me just distance myself very quickly. Only 2% of women describe themselves as beautiful. Now, the greatest officially recorded number of children born to one mother is 69. Over to another figure in heart diseases is the #1 killer of women. And the youngest girl to ever be divorced was 10 years old. Unbelievable. And an average woman eats about 2 to 3 kilos of lipstick in her lifetime. And on average, women hiccup less than men. And the first computer programmer was a woman. I think I'll agree with the last one there. Those are just some fun facts about women. We're going to have real figures shortly, but let me quickly engage our guest in studio. And actually before that, let me take that very short break. We'll be right back with much more. Stay with us. Bottom Line Africa will return shortly.